That moment. The one where you feel your face flush, your heart pound, and a cold dread creeping in. Someone just humiliated you. Maybe in public, maybe subtly, but the sting is real. And it doesn't just sting, does it? It sticks. It's that moment replaying on a loop long after the laughter fades, a silent emotional scar etched into your mind. For most of us, humiliation feels like a punch to the gut, a public defeat, a loss of honor, of power. We spend days, weeks, sometimes years dwelling on it, letting it define us. But here's where the wisdom truly begins. Because the Stoics would tell you, that replay, that endless loop of shame, it's not the event destroying you, it's your attachment to it. It's letting something outside your control take root inside your mind, and then handing it the shovel to dig your own emotional grave. Now, imagine a different perspective. What if humiliation isn't the end of your power, but actually the beginning of it? Sounds counterintuitive, right? This is where a figure like Machiavelli steps onto the stage. He didn't fear public shame. He saw it as raw material, a calculated opportunity for strategic inversion, a cold, almost beautiful reversal that flips the script entirely. But this video isn't just about clever Machiavellian tactics. No, we're going deeper. We're going to blend that strategic brilliance with the timeless, quiet power of Stoicism. This isn't just about winning that moment. It's about building an inner resilience so profound, so unshakable, that an act of humiliation doesn't just bounce off you. It actually strengthens you from within. So, are you ready to discover how to transform a moment designed to crush you into the very foundation of your unbreakable strength? Because once you truly understand this, public shame loses its sting, and you gain an immense quiet power that few ever achieve. Now, to truly wield this power, we first have to understand the weapon itself, humiliation. Why does it hit so hard? Why does it feel so devastating? From a strategic Machiavellian viewpoint, when someone humiliates you, especially in public, they're doing three critical things. First, they're controlling the narrative. They paint you as foolish, weak, or arrogant. Essentially, they're attempting to define your public identity before you can respond. Second, they're actively lowering your status. They steal the spotlight, replacing your comfort with your shame. It's a direct power play designed to elevate themselves by putting you down. And third, they're testing your reaction. The way you respond determines everything: respect, pity, or oblivion. Most people tragically fail this test. They overreact, they explain, lash out, or shrink into silence. In doing so, they give the humiliator exactly what they wanted: confirmation that their strike landed, that the venom found its mark. But here's where the profound wisdom of Stoicism enters. The Stoics knew people would try to tear you down, yet they offered a radical truth. You cannot control the actions or words of others. You cannot control external events. However, you have absolute and total control over your own reaction. This is the bedrock of Stoic philosophy, drawing a clear line between what's within your power and what isn't. The real power lies in refusing to give that insult any authority over your inner state. The true damage isn't in the external words, but in how you choose to internalize them. If you give those words permission to hurt you, to stick, to replay endlessly, then you are actively participating in your own humiliation. You're handing the remote control of your emotional state to someone else. The philosopher-emperor Marcus Aurelius perfectly captured this. If any external thing causes you distress, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment at any moment. He's telling us the humiliation isn't the problem. It's your interpretation of it. It's your belief that it defines you. And that judgment, that belief, is something you can actively choose to discard. So, the first step to turning humiliation into your power is not about external struggle, but about reclaiming control of your inner world. Once you master that, the door opens to even more potent strategies that will leave your aggressors bewildered, without you ever having to lift a finger in anger. Let's dive into exactly how that's done. The Machiavellian approach, fused with Stoic wisdom, tells us this: you don't react to the insult, you react to the crowd. Think about it. When someone humiliates you, especially publicly, they're performing. It's a stage play, and the audience, whether it's 2 people or 200, matters more than the actor who just delivered the line. Machiavelli, a master of political theater, knew this implicitly. He understood that perception is reality, and the crowd's perception is everything. The Stoics, on the other hand, would remind us that the crowd's opinions, their judgments, their laughter, these are all externals. They are beyond your control. So, why give them power? Your true strength, your unshakable integrity, comes from maintaining your inner calm, independent of external validation or condemnation. This isn't about winning them over, it's about not letting them disturb you. Now let's break down the cold counterattack into 3 powerful, almost theatrical steps. Step 1. Neutralize the stage with silence. When someone hurls an insult, what do they expect? Emotion. They expect you to blush, to stutter, to get defensive, to lash out. That's the script they prepared for. Instead, you do the opposite. You go completely still, not weak, still. Imagine a sharp, almost surgical silence, unblinking eye contact, a slow, almost imperceptible smirk, or perhaps no expression at all, just a profound, unsettling stillness. This moment isn't for the attacker, it's for everyone else watching. Why? Because you're signaling calculation, not fear. And that instantly shifts the energy of the room. Humans are instinctively unnerved by the unpredictable, and silence from someone who was just publicly shamed is deeply unsettling. The crowd starts to wonder, what's he thinking? Why isn't she reacting? What do they know that we don't? The mockery in the room morphs into uncertainty, then curiosity, then perhaps even a touch of fear directed at the aggressor. This is the Stoic practice of apatheia. Not apathy in the modern sense, but the absence of disturbing passions. It's about maintaining ataraxia, a profound inner tranquility. This stillness isn't a sign of weakness. It's a demonstration of absolute self-mastery over your emotions. You are breaking their script and reclaiming the stage for yourself. You are choosing not to be defined by their attack. Step 2. Reframe their attack as their own weakness. This is where the genius of Machiavelli truly shines through, elevated by Stoic insight. Machiavelli didn't just survive insults, he flipped them. He used them as indictments of his enemy's character. Imagine someone mocking your past mistakes, your appearance, or a public failure. Most people would argue, deny, or defend themselves, but that's precisely what they want. Instead, you drop one simple sentence, cold, measured, loaded with implication. Something like, "It's revealing how badly you needed to say that." Or, "That's a lot of performance for so little impact." Notice what this does. You're not defending yourself. You are surgically dissecting their need to humiliate you. You're reframing their attack not as your weakness, but as their desperation. You're using your reason, a core Stoic virtue, to see through their facade and expose their true motives. The spotlight has shifted again. The room quiets, not because you exploded, but because you surgically reversed the emotional current. Now the attacker is the one exposed, overextended, Trying too hard. This is psychological judo. You don't fight force with force, you redirect it. Step 3. Own your flaw before they can weaponize it again. Now, what if the humiliation centered on something true? A past failure, an insecurity you actually have. The common instinct is to dodge it, to deny it, to hide it. But the Machiavellian Stoic does the opposite. They own it, but on their terms. You might say calmly, "Yeah, that happened, and I'm still standing while you're reaching for old material." Or, "They've tried that one before. It still says more about them than me." The key here is disarming the weapon before it can be reused. When you speak about your flaw with calm conviction, it loses its power. It disarms the attacker because there's nothing left for them to exploit. More than that, it becomes proof of your resilience, your humility, your integrity. The Stoics knew this. True strength isn't about hiding your imperfections, but accepting them and still moving forward. Your scars become proof of your survival, your growth. You show that you are not afraid of being mocked because you no longer play by the emotional rules of the crowd. You've replaced their need for approval with inner control. The ultimate goal here isn't just to look strong in that moment. It's to look unbreakable. The difference is subtle but profound. Looking strong can still invite more challenges. But looking unbreakable, immune to their attempts to define or diminish you, makes people pause. They rethink. They fear. Because true invincibility, as Machiavelli hinted and the Stoics embodied, isn't about never being hit. It's about never being defined by the hit. You simply don't acknowledge the rules that allow them to humiliate you. You become, in essence, immune to their game. And that, my friends, is the beginning of true power. Now, let's get even more precise, more surgical, in how you dismantle humiliation. Because the truth is, humiliation only truly sticks if you accept the premise of the attack. Think about that for a second. The person insulting you is presenting a narrative, a frame around you. Maybe you're clumsy or foolish or desperate. If you argue against it, if you defend it, you've already stepped inside their frame. You're playing by their rules. This is where the Stoic concept of proheresis becomes your superpower. It's your faculty of choice, your ability to choose your response and, critically, to disagree with false judgments. The Stoics understood that you have the inherent right and the responsibility to refuse to agree with the frame that someone else is trying to impose on you. Imagine someone tries to tell you the sky is green. You wouldn't argue with them, would you? You just silently or calmly dismiss it because you know it's blue. It's an obvious falsehood. Humiliation works the same way. Their insult is their attempt to paint your sky green. Your power lies in simply refusing to acknowledge that absurdity. You have the ultimate right to reject their version of reality about you. Your self-worth isn't on a democratic ballot. It's an internal declaration. Now, how do we practically do this, especially in the heat of the moment? This leads us to a fascinating blend of Machiavellian genius and Stoic clarity. Make their insult look like a confession. This is incredibly potent because often when someone lashes out or tries to humiliate another, it's not truly about you. It's a reflection of their own fears, their own insecurities, their own desperate need to feel bigger or better. Their words are a projection, a mirror reflecting their inner turmoil. The Stoics, with their emphasis on reason, logos, taught us to look beyond the surface. Don't get caught in the emotional trap. Instead, use your reason to see through the insult, not with anger, but with an almost unsettling clarity. You're trying to understand and thus neutralize their true, often hidden intentions. Let me give you a classic example. Say someone mocks your ambition. Perhaps you failed at something big recently and they sneer. "Wow, still trying to climb that ladder? Didn't you fall off it already?" Most people would get defensive. They'd argue about their past efforts or explain why they failed. But that confirms their narrative. Instead, you could, with a calm, almost curious gaze, just say, "It's interesting how much my ambition bothers you." Or, "That's a very revealing comment about your own relationship with success." See what happens? You're not defending your ambition. You're dissecting their need to mock it. You're subtly implying that their attack comes from their own insecurities about ambition, or perhaps their own lack of it. You've flipped the script. You've turned their spotlight back on them. And to pull this off effectively, you need to master the art of maintaining emotional flatness. This isn't about being a robot. It's about not giving them the emotional reaction they crave. They want to see you flustered, angry, defensive, or even tearful. Your rage, your upset, is their victory. It confirms they have power over you. But when you respond with a cold, almost surgical calm, no flinching, no frantic words, no nervous laughter, you actually terrify them more than any outburst ever could. Think about it. An angry person is predictable. You know how to deal with them. But someone who stays perfectly composed when attacked, someone who doesn't even ripple, that's deeply unsettling. That signals a level of control that most people don't possess. This is the Stoic virtue of temperance, ultimate self-control. It means that you, and only you, control your emotional state. It means that while they might try to control the game, your serene composure proves that you are truly in command. It's the ultimate power move. They throw a punch, and you simply lean back, untouched, making them look foolish for even trying. Ultimately, remember this. In any public interaction, it's about winning the spectacle. The crowd doesn't remember every word that was said. They remember who looked in control. Your face becomes the canvas. Your voice becomes the stage. Your silence becomes the suspense. Even your micro-expressions, those tiny twitches or lack thereof, speak louder than their words. This inner self-mastery, this unshakable composure projects outwards. You don't need to engage in a shouting match or a war of words to win. The mere fact that you remain centered, utterly unaffected by their attempts to derail you, communicates a profound power. People will feel that you chose not to respond, not because you were weak, but because you had already won. And that, my friends, is unsettling to anyone who thrives on drama and reaction. You become unreadable. And in the theater of power, unreadable people are always feared. So far, we've focused a lot on verbal attacks, those direct insults that sting. But what about the more insidious, often unspoken forms of humiliation? The non-verbal slights, the subtle exclusions, being talked over or made to feel invisible in a group. This can be just as damaging, often more so because it's harder to address directly. How does the Machiavellian Stoic respond to being deliberately ignored or overlooked? Here's the brutal truth. When someone tries to exclude or diminish you non-verbally, they are often seeking a specific reaction. Your desperate chase for inclusion. They want you to look needy, to try harder to get their attention, because your neediness validates their dominance. This is a subtle power play. So, step 1, do not chase inclusion. This is absolutely critical. Do not lean in. Do not raise your voice. Do not try to re-engage with them desperately. That's exactly what they want. The Stoics understood this profoundly. Your worth, your value, does not come from external validation or the approval of others. Your self-worth is an internal, unshakable truth. Seneca famously said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And in this case, unlike him means you don't play their game of seeking external approval. Your power comes from your inner self-sufficiency. Instead, step 2, disengage strategically, not emotionally. This isn't about storming off in a huff or pouting in a corner. That still gives them a reaction. It's about a cold, almost elegant disconnection of your attention. Look away, shift your body language. Turn to someone else in the room and engage them sincerely. Pull out your phone briefly, not to scroll aimlessly, but to project an air of being occupied and important. You are subtly, non-verbally signaling, "You do not have my attention, and I do not crave your validation." You are asserting control over your most precious resource, your focus. Then, step 3. Reframe the room. Build gravity elsewhere. Don't just disengage. Actively engage in a different part of the room or conversation. Start generating value somewhere else. If you were talking to Group A and they ignored you, turn to Group B and start an engaging conversation. If you were in a meeting and ignored, contribute powerfully to another part of the discussion or take notes diligently, showing you are focused on value, not their petty game. Let them realize that they didn't diminish you. They simply lost your focus, and with it, the spotlight they tried to steal. Machiavelli knew that attention is currency. When you stop spending it on people who try to embarrass you, you literally bankrupt their power over you. This leads us to perhaps the final, most brutal, and most liberating lesson about humiliation. Sometimes you don't need to say anything at all. You just let them dig. People who humiliate others are often addicted to attention. They crave the reaction, the drama, the opportunity to feel superior. If you give them just enough rope, without interrupting, without reacting, without even a flicker of emotion, they will eventually reveal themselves. They'll say too much, push too far, lose the crowd's sympathy, all while you remain untouched. And when they finally overextend, when their performance falls flat, that's when you might speak. Just once. Just one sentence that reframes the entire spectacle they created. Something like, "You seem really committed to this performance." And then silence. You see, humiliation only works on people who are desperate to protect their ego, to be seen as flawless. But when you've detached from that need, when you've embraced the Stoic understanding that your worth isn't dependent on external opinion, you become immune. You achieve an inner armor, a psychological invincibility. And that immunity terrifies people who survive on your weakness. They realize you're not afraid of being seen, not afraid of being misunderstood. That's true power. Not the kind that blocks attacks, but the kind that makes attackers hesitate before even trying. Now, let's move into the realm of truly unbreakable tactics. The kind of psychological mastery that turns moments designed to shame you into platforms for your elevation. This isn't just about surviving. It's about winning the scene, permanently. The deepest layer most people never see when facing humiliation is this. It's not just about embarrassment. It's about identity warfare. When someone tries to humiliate you, especially in front of others, they are attempting to rewrite your social identity right in front of your audience. They're trying to frame you as weak, awkward, desperate, overconfident, or irrelevant. And if you don't seize the pen back, the crowd will, consciously or unconsciously, accept their version of you as truth. The Stoics knew this intimately. They understood that your true identity, your character, is formed by your inner self, your choices and your virtues, not by the fleeting opinions or malicious labels others try to assign you. Your job is to be the sole architect of your identity. You are the only one who truly defines who you are. This fundamental truth empowers you to refuse to be framed. You have the absolute right to reject any narrative that doesn't align with your own carefully cultivated self-perception. So how do you actively destroy their false frame without falling into an emotional reaction, which is exactly what they want? Let's break down the precise psychological and tactical steps the Machiavellian Stoic would use. First, the law of disruption. When someone humbles you publicly, they come with an expectation. They've rehearsed their jab, timed it for maximum impact, perhaps even made eye contact with others to draw them into their theatrical moment. They expect a predictable flow. You react, they revel. Your first weapon is to utterly shatter that rhythm. Not loudly, not defensively, but by doing something unexpectedly calm, something slow, something entirely unfit for the emotional temperature they tried to create. Imagine a long, deliberate pause, a slow sip of your drink, a raised brow that signals observation, not anger, a deliberate lean back in your chair, or a complete lack of verbal response. This isn't about being silent out of fear. It's about choosing a powerful, unnerving stillness. This creates instant social confusion. The crowd begins to shift, not because of what was said, but because of the gaping silence, the unexpected gap in your reaction. They expected retaliation or retreat. Instead, they get quiet power, suspense. This is the moment you make them lose audience control because suddenly you're not the one being watched as weak. You're the one being watched for your next unpredictable move. This deep calm, this disruption of their expected outcome, is pure Stoic control. Controlling the situation by controlling your inner state. Second, the precision cut. Once you've disrupted their flow and redirected the audience's attention, now you speak, but never, ever to defend yourself. That's what average people do. You speak to expose the neediness or obsession of your attacker. Let's say someone mocks your past performance in front of others, sneering. Did you really think that was impressive? Don't defend your past. Don't correct them. That's the trap. Instead, reply calmly, perhaps with a slight, almost imperceptible tilt of your head. Strange how much attention you give me for someone who's not impressed. Watch what happens. They freeze. The crowd tilts their heads. You haven't insulted them. You've simply refocused the lens from your performance to their obsession with it. You've implied their insecurity without naming it directly, and that makes it more powerful because everyone now sees it. They don't need it explained. The image is planted. The one who tried to humiliate you is more consumed by you than they want to admit. This is Machiavellian brilliance, cutting to the quick. And the Stoic wisdom here is using your sharp reason not to wound, but to clarify the truth and redirect perception away from your perceived flaw and onto their actual weakness. Third, don't be right. Be undeniable. Here's what most people misunderstand about social dynamics. The person who wins the argument doesn't always win the crowd. Why? Because being right often feels good only to the ego. It's a verbal skirmish. But being undeniably composed, unshakably calm, disarmingly clear, that creates a power impression that lasts far longer than words. It's not about facts. It's about frame control. The real game is about who controls the meaning of what just happened. So, you might say something like, that's one interpretation, but the fact that you need to say it says more than the words themselves. With that single sentence, you refuse their version of reality, place the emotional spotlight back on them, and sound cold, clear, and utterly above the petty game they're trying to pull you into. This is how true power speaks, with surgical neutrality driven by the Stoic strength of character. Your calm actions, your unruffled demeanor, these become a more eloquent and convincing argument than any logical rebuttal. Fourth, the echo of dignity. Now let's talk about the aftermath. Because in a world full of cheap moments, dignity is truly disruptive. Once you've successfully reversed a humiliation attempt, don't stay to bask in the glory. Don't over-explain your cleverness to others later. Don't repeat the moment to gather sympathy. You simply move on, cleanly, without signaling that you needed to win or that it bothered you. And that silence, it echoes. People will remember how you handled it, not with noise, but with weight. They'll say, he didn't flinch. She made him look stupid without even trying. That was cold. This effortless, dignified departure communicates that the incident was beneath you, that you are above their games. This is the Machiavellian elevation, transforming a hit into your platform. But it is fueled by the Stoic realization that your dignity and integrity don't need external validation. Your serene composure, your quiet strength after a powerful action, resonates in the minds of others far longer than any triumphant retort. We've covered some potent ground. You now have a strategic playbook for confronting humiliation, transforming it from a vulnerability into a display of your quiet strength. But here's a crucial warning, a vital piece of Stoic foresight. When you establish yourself as calm, dominant, and truly unbreakable, it won't be the last attempt. Think about it. People who rely on group dynamics, social control, or performance-based bullying thrive on predictability. Your newfound composure shatters that predictability. It makes them uncomfortable. It makes them feel threatened. They will almost inevitably try again. But next time they'll be smarter, subtler, perhaps even using others as proxies. It might not be direct mockery. It could be a compliment designed to sting, a seemingly innocent question designed to frame you, or even a deliberate silence designed to isolate you. This is why the Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It's not about being a pessimist, constantly expecting the worst. It's a mental rehearsal, a profound psychological preparation. You visualize these potential future attacks. You mentally run through the strategies we've discussed, not to dread them, but to disarm them of their surprise. Just like a martial artist practices their blocks before a real fight, a Stoic mind prepares for adversity so that when it arrives, it's not a shock, but an expected opportunity to practice virtue. This makes you resilient, ready, and ultimately fearless. So when that next subtle jab comes, your response should always be the same. Never act from emotion. Always respond with direction. This is the bedrock of your true power. When someone tries to humiliate you, especially after you've proven your composure, they've already lost. Why? Because they've revealed one powerful thing. They see you as a threat. Let that sink in. Your mere existence, your stillness, your refusal to bend, your unwavering self-possession, that alone is enough to make someone break character in public, to reveal their own insecurity by trying to bring you down. This isn't about vengeance, it's not about applause, it's the quiet internal recognition that your unshakable presence holds immense power. And when they reveal their desperation, you don't react, you observe. You let the silence do your work. You let their frantic scrambling and overextension paint a clear picture for everyone watching. And then, only if absolutely necessary, you speak once. Not to strike back in anger, but to calmly seal the moment in memory, to make it irreversible. True power doesn't shout. It doesn't scramble to save face. True power, the Machiavellian kind infused with Stoic calm, remains utterly still in the storm. Because it knows something fundamental. The storm can be redirected. The people who try to humiliate you are not just testing your composure. They are attempting to rewrite your social identity right in front of your audience. If you don't seize the pen back, the crowd will accept their version of you as truth. The most critical part of this entire Machiavellian Stoic reversal isn't a witty line or an icy smirk. It's your profound refusal to be framed. Because once someone successfully frames you as weak, awkward, desperate, overconfident, or irrelevant in front of others, every future interaction will filter through that tainted image. But if you stand unshakable, if you refuse their narrative, if you let their own efforts implode, then no one dares to try again. And if they do, you won't just survive the next attack. You'll own the very stage they built for your destruction and turn it into your throne. This is how you transcend humiliation, becoming not just stronger, but truly, undeniably, unbreakable. So, as we bring this journey to a close, Let's distill the ultimate truth we've uncovered. Humiliation only holds power over you if you choose to play the victim. The moment you shift your mindset, the moment you become the architect of that very moment, shaping its meaning, dictating your response, you become truly untouchable. This is the profound, quiet power of the Stoic. True strength isn't about striking first or shouting the loudest. It comes from being so utterly, unshakably composed under attack that the aggressor ends up looking childish, desperate, foolish for even trying. They expected to rattle you. Instead, they rattled themselves. Remember this critical message. Humiliation isn't ultimately about the words thrown at you. It's about the emotional collapse that often follows. That subtle panic, the rushed words, the nervous laugh, the desperate need to fix your image in front of an audience. Don't let that collapse happen. Instead, when someone tries to humiliate you, your response must slow time down. Your energy must drop, not rise. Your words must become fewer, not more. And your very presence, your entire being, must quietly, powerfully signal one thing. This is beneath me. Because the second you match their chaotic energy, you validate their game. But if you remain grounded, cold, elegant, almost amused by their futile attempts, you've already begun to reverse the effect. You've turned their punch into your frame, their attack into your platform. This isn't just theory. This is a practice, a lifelong journey of cultivating inner composure and self-mastery. The power of Stoicism is about continuous inner development. So I urge you, practice this composure. Practice this self-control. Start small, observe your reactions, and choose your response wisely. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, or even your own personal examples of silent power in the comments below. Your insights help this community grow stronger. If this video resonated with you and you're ready to unlock more timeless wisdom for a modern world, please like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and most importantly, subscribe to Stoic Source for more insights into living a life of unshakable strength and purpose. Thank you for watching, and remember, the ultimate revenge is within.